Canada may be the fastest growing nation in the G7, but it's not the case from coast to coast to coast. Atlantic Canada accounts for less than 7% of the country's population, and the numbers from the latest census show that number is dwindling. We're joined here by Navarro-Genie, President and CEO of the Atlantic Institute for Market Studies. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. Good morning.
Okay, so I imagine there are a number of factors at play. What are some of the biggest influences that are either driving people out of Atlantic Canada or keeping them from going there in the first place?
I think the main feature is the economy. Atlantic Canadians, like most Canadians, are very proud of their place of birth and where they live. But they have to leave, many of them, because they want to see more opportunity for their children. And so we seem to have a little bit of a perfect storm at the moment. Essentially, there is almost zero growth in terms of population. In Nova Scotia, it's 0.2%. And that means the perfect storm is made up by the fact that the young are leaving. Natural population growth is in reverse now. There are more people dying than being born. Mm-hmm. And then many of the immigrants that we managed to bring in stay for a little while and then head to Toronto, Montreal, or Vancouver.
Well, we'll talk about the immigrants and sort of their dynamic in just a moment, but let's talk about sort of the pressures on the government, because at first blush, the first thing that comes to my mind is fewer people means a smaller tax base, which means smaller tax revenue for the governments. So what positions are they in right now? What pressures are facing these provincial and local governments?
They're in a tight spot, precisely because there is a smaller tax base. And there is a good deal of Atlantic Canadians that are returning to the region. Older people that have had 30, 40 years of careers in Ontario and out west, and they're returning.
To finish up, they're on the back nine, and they want to be home. They want to be home for retirement.
Indeed, and so now they are accessing a great deal of the social programs, especially the health programs, which are some of the costliest. And so they're putting enormous pressures on the social programs. That means that governments either have to figure out a way to increase the economic pool or curtail programs and raise taxes.
Well, one of the ways that we can do that is through immigration. And, Canadians from coast to coast to coast have been, by and large, very proud of our Syrian refugee program. I think the number is somewhere around 40,000 refugees have come into the country since last year or the year before. Less than 3,000 of them, however, settled in Atlantic Canada. Why so few?
There is, in Atlantic Canada, there is a population problem, but there is also an economic problem in the sense that we can't absorb all the refugees into the labor force. There is a significant number of immigrants coming into the region, but by and large, they come in with jobs already set for them, and the economy is looking for higher skilled jobs. And so the refugees are not normally the kind of people that have the economic skills that plug into an economy right away. An economy like Ontario's, an economy like the West may be able to absorb them a little bit better. But in Atlantic Canada, it's a little bit more difficult.
Well, they're trying to get a little bit creative. There's something called the Atlantic Immigration Pilot Program, which is launching in March. Talk to me about what that is.
There is a tremendous amount of desire to make the refugees feel welcome and give them training programs, provide them with opportunities to plug into the community and so forth. And so this is an effort that is a mixture of community and government programs to make sure that not only do we welcome them, but we want them to stay.
Lastly, I guess it's a chicken or an egg situation. And maybe if you had to advise governments in the region, would you say bring the people in to spur economic growth, or create the economic growth and which will then bring the people in? What's the first step?
People.
People.
You can't have an economy without people. You can't have a culture without people. And maybe the first wave of people or the second wave of people are not going to readily plug into a vibrant economy, but you can't possibly have a vibrant economy without people. And so population is definitely the main thing. The economy will come.
Navarro-Genie, thank you very much for being here today.